My name is Sophia Carter. I'm 32 years old, and until about 6 weeks ago, I believed that if you built your life carefully enough, nothing really collapsed without warning. Not overnight, not without signs. I work as a physical therapist at a sports rehabilitation clinic in Tampa. My world runs on structure, treatment plans, patient progress, measurable outcomes. I don't guess. I don't improvise. I build systems that hold. Or at least, I thought I did. Ethan Cole is 34, my boyfriend, or he was. He's the kind of man people notice the second he walks into a room. Easy smile, confident posture, always aware, almost instinctively, of how he's being perceived. He works in commercial real estate, which fits him perfectly. Everything in his world revolves around image, presentation, control. We had been together a little over 3 years. From the outside, we looked stable. Good jobs, nice apartments, weekend trips, the kind of couple people assumed would get engaged any minute. Ethan loved one word more than anything else: soulmate. He said it on our third date. Said it when we spent our first holiday together. Said it every time he wanted to sound certain, romantic, irreplaceable. For a while, I thought it meant he was serious. Later, I realized it meant something else entirely. In Ethan's world, soulmate meant he should be forgiven faster than everyone else. If he canceled plans last minute, I was supposed to understand because what we had was bigger than schedules. If he disappeared for hours and came back vague, I was petty for asking questions. If he flirted too comfortably or got defensive, I was focusing on small things instead of the bigger connection. Looking back, the first crack should have ended it. It didn't. In April, for my birthday, we had a weekend planned in Sarasota. Hotel paid, dinner reserved. I rearranged my entire work schedule to make it happen. 2 hours before we were supposed to leave, Ethan called. "Client emergency," he said. His voice was calm, practiced. That night, a woman I hadn't spoken to since college sent me a message. No explanation, just a photo. A rooftop bar in Ybor. Ethan was in the background, his arm around a woman in a green dress. I remember staring at the image longer than I should have. Not zooming in, not reacting, just letting the shape of it settle into something real. When I confronted him the next day, he sighed. Not panicked, not apologetic, just inconvenienced. "Sophia," he said, like I was missing something obvious. "Why are you acting like one random photo can undo what we are? You know you're my soulmate." I should have walked then. I didn't. He apologized just enough, sent flowers, acted wounded, like my reaction hurt him more than his actions hurt me, and I let it go. The real ending came in July. We were supposed to meet for tacos after my shift. Something simple, familiar, normal. Ethan texted that he was running late and asked me to order for him. His tablet had been in my car since the night before. It was synced to his phone, something he always said was convenient, transparent. I brought it inside with me, planning to hand it back. While I was waiting, a message preview lit up the screen. "Jenna." I didn't recognize the name. "Can't wait for Nashville. Glad you finally told her you needed space." Then another message. "You deserve someone who doesn't make everything feel heavy." I stared at the screen and felt calm. Not shocked, not emotional, just clear. When Ethan walked in, he smiled like nothing had shifted. Leaned down, kissed my cheek, asked if I got him extra salsa. I turned the tablet toward him. He looked at it, then at me, and leaned back like he was about to explain something simple to a child. "She's just someone from a Nashville project," he said. He admitted they'd been talking. Admitted he was considering a temporary move. Said he needed space to figure out whether we were together out of habit or destiny. Then he said the line that finished everything. You don't walk away from your soulmate just because the timing gets messy." Something in me clicked. I picked up my bag, looked at him, and said, "Watch me." Then I left. By the time I got home, he had called 9 times. By midnight, 23. 3 voicemails, confused, then irritated, then insulting. At 11:42 p.m., a text came through. "You're overreacting. We are not breaking up over one conversation." I replied once. "We are. Do not come to my condo tomorrow. Your things will be at the front desk." Then I blocked him. The next morning, I paid to have my locks changed. Ethan had never officially lived with me, but he had a key, a garage fob, and the kind of confidence that made boundaries feel optional. I removed his access, left his things downstairs, saved every message. I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. By lunch, his sister was texting me from an unknown number, saying I was humiliating him over a misunderstanding. His friend messaged me on Instagram asking if I was really throwing away a soulmate connection because Ethan got scared. My mother called. Ethan had left her a voicemail, Said he was worried I was making an impulsive decision under stress. That part almost made me laugh. He lied, planned a future with another woman, tried to keep me on pause, and somehow I was unstable. I told my mother everything. She went quiet. Then said, "Send me the screenshots. He will not be contacting me again." That night, Ethan emailed me. Subject line, "We both know this is bigger than pride." 4 paragraphs. He loved me. He was confused. Jenna meant nothing. Nashville was just a possibility. We were connected in a way ordinary couples weren't. Walking away would be disrespecting fate. I didn't respond. I archived it, took screenshots, started labeling everything by date. Because somewhere deep down, I already knew. This wasn't over. 5 days later, Ethan decided that if I would not speak to him directly, he would start reaching into my life from the sides. At first, it looked almost pathetic. Then it started feeling strategic. On day 2, he sent flowers to my clinic. White lilies. He knew I hated lilies. The smell gave me headaches, the heavy sweetness clinging to the air like something rotting under perfume. Dana, our front desk coordinator, brought them back with the card pinched between 2 fingers. "For my soulmate," she read slowly. "You're still mine, Ethan." Then she looked at me over the flowers. "Is this sweet or creepy?" "Creepy," I said. She nodded once. "Good, because I already told him we don't accept personal drop-offs anymore." That helped more than she probably realized. The second another person saw it clearly, the fog lifted. That evening, he showed up at my condo. My building had a video intercom, so I got the alert while I was making dinner. Ethan stood outside in a navy shirt, hair perfect, face arranged into something wounded and noble. In his hand was a small black ring box. I did not buzz him in. He called through the panel twice. "Sophia, come on. I'm not here to fight. I just want 5 minutes." I stayed silent. Then he held the box closer to the camera. "Don't do this," he said. "Don't make me beg for something we both know is real." Security walked him back to the sidewalk 4 minutes later. Right after that, a text came from a new number. "I was trying to make this right. You're forcing me into extremes." That line bothered me more than the ring. The next morning, his cousin Ava messaged me on Facebook, saying Ethan had not slept, had missed work, and was spiraling because I was throwing away the love story everyone envied. I sent her 2 screenshots, one from Jenna, one of Ethan telling me soulmates did not walk away. Ava replied, "Oh, he definitely left that part out." I never heard from her again. I wish that had been the end of the flying monkeys. It wasn't. By Thursday, Ethan had managed 3 separate accidental run-ins. The first was at my grocery store in Hyde Park. He came around the cereal aisle holding nothing but a basket and a rehearsed smile, like the universe had staged the moment for him. The second was outside my Pilates studio. The third was worse because it meant he was watching my routine. He appeared outside the coffee shop below my clinic at 7:10 a.m., the exact time I stopped there on Fridays, already holding 2 drinks. I did not take either one. "Stop showing up places I go," I said. He smiled softly, almost sadly. "This is Tampa, Sophia. I'm not stalking you. I'm fighting for my soulmate." I walked back inside and asked the barista if I could wait near the kitchen until he left. She said yes without asking a single question. When I got upstairs, Dana had already printed the flower receipt, the delivery time, and the still image from Ethan trying to come through the clinic doors the day before. That afternoon, I paid for a cease and desist letter through a local attorney Monica recommended. It was simple. Stop contacting me. Stop showing up at my home and workplace. Any necessary communication must go through email only. Ethan responded with a 5-page email. Legal language could not erase a spiritual bond. I wish that were an exaggeration. It is not. He wrote that soulmates sometimes separated temporarily, that fear made people say cruel things, and that I was confusing devotion with pressure. I forwarded it to Monica. She replied with one line, "Girl, this man has a dictionary and a disorder." I laughed. Then I saved that email too, because the silence was making him frantic. I was not begging. I was not arguing. I was not defending myself. I was documenting him, so he escalated. He called my mother again. She blocked him. Then he used the contact form on the clinic website to ask whether a valued employee had recently been acting unstable after a breakup and whether someone should intervene for her safety. Dana intercepted that too. By then, my clinic owner knew. My office manager knew. My mother knew. My best friend Monica knew. What should have embarrassed me actually made me calmer. Once you say it out loud, it stops feeling like confusion. It starts feeling like a pattern. And Ethan was not done. 3 weeks after the breakup, he crossed the line from exhausting to dangerous. I am a licensed physical therapist. My career depends on documentation, patient trust, and a clean professional record. One Monday morning, my clinic owner asked me to step into her office before my first patient. She turned her monitor toward me. An anonymous complaint had been emailed to both the clinic and the state board. It accused me of billing for sessions I did not perform, falsifying exercise logs, and taking personal calls during treatment. It looked serious if you didn't know me. It was also ridiculous. The listed dates were days I was either off, teaching group classes in the open gym, or treating patients in rooms with 2 techs present. The language sounded like Ethan pretending to be neutral. One line described me as emotionally volatile after recent romantic conflict, in a fake ethics complaint. Dana looked at me and said, "Tell me this is your ex." I said, "It's my ex." The next week was awful. The clinic pulled schedules, chart audits, hallway camera timestamps, and supervisor notes. Everything cleared me quickly, but it still had to be checked. Every appointment I walked into felt slightly different. I smiled for patients, counted reps, adjusted knees and shoulders and posture, said, "Good, hold that for 3 more seconds," while a part of me wondered how one man I had loved had managed to turn my workplace into another room I had to defend myself inside. The board investigator told me false complaints from exes happen more often than people thought. Documentation, she said, was what saved people. Good thing I had documentation. Flowers, emails, the cease and desist, condo footage, unknown number texts, his message to my mother pretending to be worried, the clinic contact form, the coffee shop run-in. This was no longer a messy breakup. It was retaliation. Then he made it worse. That Wednesday, I went to dinner in St. Pete with Owen, a man I met through a Saturday running group. It was not some dramatic rebound. We had gotten coffee twice and lunch once. He was easy, direct, no speeches, no cosmic destiny language. He asked questions and listened to the answers. That felt surprisingly rare. Halfway through dinner, Ethan appeared beside our table. I still do not know how he found us. Maybe social media. Maybe he saw my car. Maybe one of the people feeding him information got careless. He was holding the same black ring box and looking at me like Owen was an obstacle, not a person. Owen stood immediately. Ethan ignored him. "So this is what you do?" Ethan said. 3 weeks and you replace your soulmate?" My stomach went cold. "Ethan, leave." He set the ring box on the tablecloth like he was presenting evidence in court. "You don't build a future with someone and then act like they were temporary." I said it louder. "Leave." The manager was already walking over, but Ethan leaned down, eyes fixed on mine. "This is exactly why I was worried about you," he said. "You make reckless choices when you're emotional." That was enough. Owen stepped between us. The manager told Ethan to go. For 1 second, Ethan's face changed. The softness disappeared. The wounded romance vanished. What was underneath looked sharper, smaller, furious. He grabbed the ring box, knocked over my water, and pointed at me. "You are burning down your own life out of pride." The restaurant called the police. Ethan left before they arrived, but the officers took statements, and the manager gave me an incident report. The next morning, I filed for a temporary protective order. My attorney helped organize everything into one packet. 37 pages before call logs, the fake ethics complaint, the clinic emails, the condo footage, the flower card, the new number texts, the cease and desist, the restaurant report, statements from Dana and Owen, even the message where he said I was forcing him into extremes. When people say document everything, they mean everything. That same afternoon, Ethan's mother, Cheryl, called me from a number I did not recognize. I almost ignored it. I'm glad I didn't. "Sophia," she said, her voice exhausted, "I'm not calling to convince you of anything. I'm calling to apologize for my son." I said nothing. "He showed up here last night saying you were humiliating him by dating and that you were spiritually committed. I asked what he had sent before your silence. He refused to show me." The room felt very quiet. Then Cheryl said, "I raised him better than this. Get your order. Do whatever you need to do. If anyone from my family contacts you again, tell me." It was the cleanest thing anyone on his side had said. That should have humbled him. It didn't. 2 days after I filed for the temporary protective order, Ethan decided to rewrite the story publicly. He posted a long Instagram story about losing the woman God designed for him because modern dating rewarded disloyalty. He didn't use my name. He didn't have to. He used just enough details. My job, the timeline, the breakup, that 3 different people sent me screenshots asking if it was about us. One of his friends, Trevor, messaged me directly. "Hey, I don't want to get in the middle, but Ethan's saying you're not doing well, that you're dating random guys to cope and trying to mess with his career. Just wanted to check if you're okay." I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I sent him one screenshot. The anonymous complaint. No explanation, no argument. Just that, Trevor replied 2 minutes later. Never mind, I'm out. That was the thing about truth. It didn't need a speech. It just needed to be seen. 2 days later, the temporary protective order was granted until the full hearing. Ethan was served at work. I found out because he sent one last message through a brand new email account before the restrictions fully took effect. You can get paper involved, he wrote, but you cannot unsoulmate someone. I didn't respond. I saved it. By then, saving things felt less like preparation and more like instinct. Like locking doors at night. You don't think about it. You just do it. The days leading up to the hearing were strangely quiet. Not peaceful. Just suspended. Like everything was holding its breath. My clinic had officially documented that I was the target of harassment, not misconduct. The state board had acknowledged the complaint, but paused any action, pending further review. Still, every time my phone buzzed, my chest tightened. Not because I expected to answer, but because I knew how far he was willing to go. At night, I double-checked my doors. Checked my windows. Looked at the parking lot longer than necessary before walking inside. It wasn't fear exactly. It was awareness. The kind that stays with you even when everything is technically under control. Owen noticed it. He never asked directly. Didn't push. He just adjusted. Walked me to my car without making it a big deal. Texted when he got home. Kept things simple. Made it back. Sleep well. That was it. No grand gestures. No declarations. Just consistency. It felt unfamiliar. In a good way. A week before the hearing, Cheryl called me again. This time I answered immediately. I wanted you to hear it from me, she said. Ethan's been placed on leave at work. I leaned back against my kitchen counter. Because of the order? Because of everything, she said quietly. Being served at the office caused problems with clients, and there have been other complaints. Not like yours, but enough that they're paying attention now. I didn't feel satisfaction, just distance. I'm sorry, she added. I truly am. I believe you, I said. And I did. There was a pause. Then she said something that stayed with me longer than I expected. He's done this before, not like this, but the soulmate language, the intensity, the way he makes things feel bigger than they are so he doesn't have to face what they actually are. I closed my eyes for a second. Thank you for telling me. I wish I had said it sooner. After we hung up, I stood there for a long time, phone still in my hand. It wasn't new information. Not really. But hearing it confirmed by someone who knew him before me, it changed something. It made the whole thing feel less personal, less like I had failed to understand him, more like I had finally stopped accepting something that was never going to change. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was afraid of the outcome, but because I knew it was the last step. The final version of events would be decided in a room where feelings didn't matter, only facts. And I had facts. 37 pages of them. The next morning, I wore a navy dress I had bought for a conference the year before. Structured, simple, professional. Armor. When I walked into the courthouse, my hands were steady. That surprised me. Ethan was already there. Gray suit, fresh haircut. He looked composed, like someone preparing for a presentation. For a second, he caught my eye and smiled. Not warmly, not kindly, just confidently, like eye contact alone might shift something in his favor. I looked past him, sat down next to my attorney, opened my folder, and waited. The hearing started with his attorney framing everything as a misunderstanding. A painful breakup, a man seeking closure, someone who had been pushed away too quickly and reacted emotionally. I listened, didn't react, didn't interrupt, because I knew what was coming next. My attorney slid the binder across the table. Closure, she said calmly, does not look like anonymous professional complaints. That line changed the room. The judge opened the binder and started reading, slowly, carefully, page after page. I watched her expression, not Ethan. Because that was where the decision was being made. Not in his posture, not in his tone, in the evidence. At one point, she paused, looked up. Oh, why did you contact her workplace after being told not to? Ethan straightened slightly. I was concerned about her well-being, he said. The judge didn't react. Why did that concern take the form of accusing her of fraud to her employer and licensing board? Silence. A flicker of something crossed his face. Then it disappeared. No answer. The judge flipped another page. Why did you send flowers stating she was still yours, and then appear at her residence with a ring after being blocked? Ethan inhaled. I believed we were meant to be together. The judge's pen paused. Belief does not create permission, she said. The room went completely still. Then she read one of his messages out loud. You're forcing me into extremes. Hearing it in that space. without context, without emotion, just words on paper. It sounded exactly like what it was. A warning. A threat disguised as desperation. The judge closed the binder, looked directly at him, then at me, and I realized this was already over. The judge took a breath before speaking, like she was choosing her words carefully, not because the situation was unclear, but because she understood exactly how serious it was. The court finds, she began, that the respondent's actions, repeated unwanted contact, interference with the petitioner's workplace, filing of a false professional complaint, and escalation to public confrontation, constitute a pattern of coercive and alarming behavior. I didn't move, didn't blink. I just listened. She continued, her voice steady, measured. This is not a case of miscommunication or emotional distress following a breakup. This is a sustained effort to override clearly established boundaries. Ethan shifted in his seat. For the first time since I'd walked into the room, he looked uncertain. The judge didn't look at him again. The temporary protective order is hereby extended to a full order of protection for a period of 2 years. 2 years. The words landed quietly, but they carried weight. No direct or indirect contact, she added. No third-party communication. A minimum distance of 500 feet from the petitioner's residence, workplace, and vehicle. A pause. Then, almost as an afterthought, but not really, any further attempt to interfere with the petitioner's professional licensing or employment will be treated as a separate and serious matter. That was it. No dramatic ending. No final speech. Just clarity. The kind that doesn't need emphasis. The kind that closes something completely. I didn't realize how much tension I'd been carrying until I stood up. My legs felt lighter. Not weak, just unburdened. Like something had been pressing down on me for weeks and finally let go. Out in the hallway, Dana hugged me first. Tight. Quick. Like she already knew I didn't need a long moment. Done, she said. Done, I repeated. Monica was next. She didn't hug gently. She squeezed like she was trying to reset my spine. I told you, she said into my hair. Documentation always wins. I laughed. Not loudly. Just enough to feel it in my chest. Owen was downstairs, exactly where he said he'd be. 2 coffees in his hands. No questions. No pressure. Just presence. Hey, he said when he saw me. Hey. He handed me one of the cups. I took it. Warm, steady. Normal. My mother arrived a few minutes later. She didn't say anything at first. She just pulled me into her arms and held on. And that was when it hit me. Not fear, not anger. Relief. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind. The kind that settles into your bones and says, it's over. After the hearing, Cheryl approached me slowly. She looked smaller somehow. Tired. I'm glad you got what you needed, she said. I'm glad too. She nodded. He's already dealing with consequences, she added. Being served at work caused issues. Clients asked questions. Management didn't appreciate how much personal chaos crossed into company systems. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. I'm sorry, she said again. I know, I replied. And this time it felt final. Not something that needed to be revisited. Just acknowledged. The state board closed the complaint 2 days later. No action. No record. Just a note that the allegations were unsubstantiated. My clinic documented everything. Not just to protect me, but to protect the practice. To make sure if anything like this ever happened again, to me or anyone else, there would be a system already in place. A week after that, my clinic owner called me into her office. I expected another check-in. Instead, she offered me something else. A leadership role in a new return-to-sport program for high school athletes. More responsibility. More control over my schedule. A raise. I accepted. Not because I needed the validation, but because it felt like movement. Forward. As for Owen, we kept things slow. Intentionally. Which I learned feels very different when slow means peaceful instead of uncertain. He texts good morning. Sometimes I text first. We make plans. Then we keep them. No speeches about fate. No tests. No disappearing acts. Just consistency. It turns out that's what stability actually feels like. The strangest part came after everything was over. After the hearing. After the order. After the silence. People started reaching out, quietly. One woman Ethan had dated before me told me he had called her his soulmate too. Another said he used the same language every time he needed forgiveness for something obvious. Apparently, I wasn't the first woman he told that ordinary rules didn't apply to extraordinary love. That realization sat with me for about 5 minutes. Then it passed. Because it didn't matter anymore. I got out before marriage, before a shared mortgage. Before years of being trained to confuse intensity with devotion, here's what I learned. Soulmates, real ones, do not need access to your job, your mother, your building, and your peace of mind to prove a point. People who love you do not make your boundaries feel like betrayal. They do not call accountability a lack of faith. They do not treat your no like something temporary. A real partner might fight for a relationship, but fighting for it is not the same as cornering it. Love that has to override your boundaries is not love. It's entitlement, dressed up in poetic language. If someone tells you chaos is proof of passion, question the source, because the right person will not need to convince you they are your destiny while actively making your life smaller. They will just make your life safer. And that's how you know